connections and the resources to, get a message to the Vatican that to help Pope Francis. I mean, I may be nobody. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I mean, I've learned a lot in a lifetime love of medicine, but it doesn't love my. It doesn't. My love for medicine doesn't trump my love for force protection, international security, international relations, and stuff like that. But I have learned in my travels some things, in addition to reading medical textbooks when I started my undergrad years. But being a child with few resources, and I've always struggled financially because I didn't have anybody to help me out. Um, a few times I've had come into um, a little bit of money so I can, pay off people that I owe and pay off debts and invest. But sadly, it's usually short-lived because I'm on my own. I may not be an orphan on paper, but I mean, for the most part, I kind of am. But I'm not looking for sympathy. That's just a reality. I don't need sympathy. The only thing I ask people have with me is empathy and do the job that they're assigned to do without retaliation, accepting challenge, and growing as whatever kind of employee they are in whatever field. But there's a medication that's used all over Southeast Asia and some places in the Middle East called Zyrtec. Now, I don't know the chemical name. I could dig it up, but, Zyrtec is incredibly effective. When I used to smoke, I'm allergic to smoke. Actually, I think all of my kids and myself are allergic to smoke. We don't like to be around it, but I used to smoke. And, that caused me significant illnesses. Now I know. But in some ways, it seemed to hold back others. Some of the issues that I probably have didn't seem to come until I quit smoking, and I was in an area where I'm allergic to so much stuff. The Midwest, if I was in a pine forest, it's interesting. If I was in a pine forest, I think I'm almost allergic to nothing. Maybe one pine tree, maybe. But I just find that fascinating. Otherwise, I'm allergic to so many deciduous trees and annual plants. Yeah, and perennial plants in the Midwest. But anyway, Zyrtec is incredibly effective. When I used to get sick, I would take Zyrtec and oregano tea, and I would be better within days. And this is sometimes severe bronchitis. Sometimes, connected to severe rhinitis or severe sinusitis, I mean. Those two together, your body will purge the mucus. It makes it thinner. I just wish I could, get that to the Pope Francis's doctors. I'm seeing all of the news articles, that are hitting my feed. And as way, he's one of the people when I pray every day. He's in my intentions. Always. And I just wish, just by chance, somebody who knows somebody would, bring across that medication to his doctors at the, what's the name of the hospital? Geminalini? I forget the name of the hospital. But, it's very effective. No side effects. Even the mucus production is thin, so even if it's a labored cough, it's still very productive. Um, and it's natural. It comes from actually a tree. I forgot the tree, but it's a tree. It's the sap of the leaves and inside the bark. You know the real sap of a tree, and I think some of its leaves too, if I recall. I can't remember which plant, but it's very fascinating. And it's widely been used in Asia for at least 30 or 40 years, probably longer than that, probably 40 or 50 years, but relatively rarely used in the US, but now it's used actually in lung cancer research because it is such a miracle drug when it comes to mucolytics. And don't ask me why it took so long for the FDA. It's still, as of what, 4 years ago, it's still considered experimental. But, there's a lot of things I don't understand why the U.S. doesn't jump on the bandwagon because it's so effective and productive and cost effective. I don't know. Maybe it's the industrial complex. I'm a capitalist, but I do understand there's significant one percenters who operate without conscience, and a significant oligarchy of corporate control in the U.S. And you have these mega conglomerates that own 5, 10, 15 different companies, and they own majority shares. So if it's not advantageous to them, some things just don't hit R&D offices, and that's unfortunate because capitalism is a blessing until it moves into the area of greed, selfishness, utilitarian attitude, um, destructiveness, and I think we're there now. Um, Now, when we manipulate the very thought of truth, is manipulated for gain, political gain, economic gain, control, social control. We're moving into a very dystopic, Orwellian example of democracy, and that's pretty concerning. And I'm not going to point a finger at either party because I see it all over the place. Um, so I'm glad I'm I'm glad that I'm libertarian. I would never go either way anymore. But I encourage other people to think about libertarian causes and Libertarian Party as well, because the Libertarian focuses on individual resilience, individual self-determination, uh, and individual civil liberties, individual rights. With the state, yeah, used the central federal, state is useful, but yet there's very distinct boundaries drawn. But anyway, yeah, they use this medication, Zyrtec. What is it, 50 or 100 milligrams? I forget. It's been a while. No, I don't know. But anyway, um, they're using it now for lung cancer as an experimental drug to help with mucus while people are being treated for lung cancer. And last time I read about it, which was 2 years ago, maybe 3, they were considering moving the experiments to use as a mucolytic for people who have pneumonia and bronchitis. Um, so that would be uh, non lymphoma or sarcoma patient bronchitis, meaning people with very selective kinds of lung cancer. Um, like I said, they've been using it experimentally, but only in certain situations. If somebody has a lot of cough, and it's cough that could be damaging, pulmonarily. Um, I'm not sure if they still use it because, like I said, it's experimental. Um, but I'm not sure the direction the FDA took all the testing. But like I said, I know those are the area they're testing with to help people with lung cancer, um, to help with mucus, and for people with bronchitis to help with mucus. Because, like I said, as long as people are drinking water every day, um, it causes mucus production that's very thin, very easy to cough up, and it has practically no side effects. I mean, it's a great drug. It's a miracle drug. I just don't understand why it took so long for it to make it to American soils. And I'm not sure the use in Europe. I only know the various markets in the Middle East and in various markets in Asia and Southeast Asia. But I hope that maybe somebody who watches this knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who can bring this up. And I think it would be very helpful for him. Very helpful. They wouldn't need any scopes because this is a miracle drug, really. It is a great drug. Every time I get sick, when I'm in those two areas of the world, I buy it. I'm really sick now that I quit smoking, unless it's a inflammatory illness. I'm never sick. Or COVID. I think we've had that now 5 times. I've had it 5 times. My daughter's had it 3 or 4. Zyrtec, that's the name of the medication. I can't remember who makes it. It was started by, I think, a pharmaceutical company in the Philippines, I think. And then they were bought out by one from Switzerland, maybe? Switzerland or Denmark or Sweden, somewhere around there. They were bought out. And I don't know how it made it to the U.S. for FDA trials. Maybe they brought it to the U.S. for FDA. Actually, yeah, I think they did. This company did, because they have offices in New York. So that's probably how it came to the U.S., is through them. Which is crazy. Why so often in American culture is Filipino culture, Filipino science, Filipino medical treatment, why is it just discounted? I've found that taking Zyrtec and drinking oregano tea, which people laugh at in the States, it gets you better quick. Even sinusitis with mucus production. Take that oregano tea. Thick, strong oregano tea. Freshly cut oregano. You can find it in most grocery stores like Meijer, Kroger's, some of the larger Walmarts. You'll find oregano, fresh oregano. The dried stuff, it will work, but it's not as helpful because when oregano, as it dries, it loses a lot of its strength. But you could do it. It's be very weak, but freshly cut's the best. Just boil it, just like your great grandma did when she made tea. Just boil it, and then drink the tea. Fully purified water. You don't want anything in there that's unneeded. If you can get spring water, that's even better. That way, there's nothing added to it to diminish the effect. You could even use distilled water. You don't want to diminish the effect because this is very good medicine. And so the Zyrtec, I just wish I could get it to the Vatican because this is an incredible medication. There's times before I've been coughing so much that I get headaches. Actually, I think that's one of the problems that why I seem to have, when I look back, just a little bit of memory loss, not a lot. But every now and then I'll try to think back like how a person looked. I mean, this could be age too, maybe. I'll try to think how somebody looked or try to think of somebody's name, and it's just not there. Um, and I think it's because while I was smoking, and the first 3 or 4 years after I had a spinal implant, coughing spells. Sometimes I would get headaches. I would pass out, but it hasn't happened in a long time. But I think maybe cause some memory loss. I don't know how that would work. Maybe cerebrospinal pressure, cranial pressure, all those working against each other. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it's not that much. It's something I noticed. I mean, it could be age too. As you get older, sometimes you forget somebody's face or a name. But anyway, Zyrtec and oregano tea. If only I wasn't somebody financially imprisoned in Michigan. I'd send a letter or something, to somebody. But unfortunately, I can't. But if anybody sees this and you're sick with bronchitis or you're undergoing treatment for lung cancer or you have pneumonia, obviously it won't fight the bacteria. You'll need an antibiotic for that, or even get the vaccine if you're not too bad, and your body will build immunity as you're climbing over the crucible of having pneumonia. It's very effective. Very effective. If you can get over the hump of the mucus production, making it thin and making it easily expelled, the bacteria will slowly die. Pneumonia is something that can be overcome if you approach it like fighting a battle. You got to take away all the power, decrease the inflammation, get the mucus out of there. And when there's, the mucus production is affected or it's being expelled easily, then the irritation is lower and the bacteria has, less defense against antibiotics or just against the body, the immune system. And that's how you beat pneumonia. I've been near there more than once. Like I said, I should have never been a smoker. Never been a smoker. But apparently it held back some other issues, which, apparently it impeded my immunity enough so that what I think is rheumatoid barely activated. And I was, in addition to smoking, my body ignored many of the allergens that I'm allergic to. Actually, a Navy physician told me that one time. He said, you may find he said, looking at your medical history, when you quit smoking, he said, you may start to get sick a lot because your body is ignoring a lot of stuff. That's fascinating. But he was right. And if I am right, then apparently it had an effect on my immune system, so inflammatory responses were delayed or diminished, which is interesting. But then you could add an anthrax vaccine to that too. Seem to be some interesting things about them that's really downplayed. That's in the video that I did before this. I need to go through and title and keyword all my videos. A lot of them I know there's nothing there. But, I mean, because it's mostly to record what's happened to us, mostly. Um, but, finding some connections between people with rheumatoid arthritis and the anthrax vaccines and lupus and the anthrax vaccines, finding some interesting connections, but then the research just stopped and there's not much there. You know why. But it was interesting that out of 77 RA cases, 15% of them had the vaccine. And out of, they grabbed, how many rheumatoid? I think it was 39 or 40 cases. Again, 13 to 15% of them had the vaccine. So it's worthy of more research. We're not talking about thousands of cases, but the sample was very limited, but still we had greater than chance being 5% in most experiments. So, that's way above a 95% confidence interval. So I just find it fascinating that it was just dropped. And also seems to be some research that they started to discover things, and it was dropped. We know why, but people who had rheumatoid arthritis in their family histories, and then they were deployed to CENTCOM, especially to areas where they had active burn pits, even within a couple of miles. They started to see, some cases of inflammatory diseases like lupus. Lupus was much less than arthritis, but the thing is, rheumatoid arthritis, it tends to have a slight genetic factor. Lupus does not. So I find that fascinating. But again, research was dropped, and they said, it wasn't a significant enough appearance of rheumatoid and other systemic illnesses within the burn pit veteran population. And they tried to break it down by how close to a burn pit somebody was. The only place, in my opinion, the only places that this would actually matter would be a place like Iraq, where the burn pit might be right behind somebody's hooch, or if at Afghanistan, where you have a base that's the size of a tiny base, the size of like an embassy compound. Unless, outside of Kabul. And where the burn pit is going to be blowing right back into the tents or into the, the dining hall or the weapons locker, stuff like that. That's when distance would, be really important. But if it's, a difference of 1 mile or 1.5 miles or 2 miles from the burn pit site, it doesn't matter. It's the Middle East. Either you have wind, which most of the time there's even a light breeze. Most of the time. I've spent enough time there. And there's nothing there. Iraq, it's got pockets. Kuwait, much less pockets of greenery. And then you go to Saudi, even fewer pockets of greenery. Afghanistan, you've got more mountains than you have greenery. So again, you're breathing everything around you. You can't quantify something like that, In the deep desert, you're breathing everything around you. That's the worst place because the sand blows all the time. And when it rains, then even more stuff moves around. So, I don't know, but I just found the distance thing is really irrelevant. But they're trying to say, I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it sound like, you got to be within a mile to have a significant effect, but it's not always true. We know what they're doing. Just like the fact that some of the labs that are being used to test veterans for inflammatory illnesses, some of these labs have very, very high ranges, like 0 to 19, meaning you have to get more than 19 points on one range for 2 labs for two different laboratories. They have the same range. You have to get above 19 points before you have mild inflammatory rheumatoid or lupus. Above 19. And their argument is, well, some of these markers exist in the general population as well. Well, some of these markers, people have full-blown rheumatoid or lupus, and they test negative. But again, it's a good way to weed out and diminish veterans who are ill. Well, we don't see anything here. We have these two tests, and it's nothing really of concern. But the good rheumatologist is going to look at the entire picture and say, I see a lot here. Yeah, it's not conclusive because either one, your arthritis is just beginning or your lupus is just beginning, or two, you're leaving a episode. So a lot of things are diminishing until you have the next episode. What they need to do is find somebody in a full-blown episode. But with the VA, you can't do that. Especially the VA I go to, because they control how much you can go in. Now I even get complaints if I send an email. So I can potentially see thousands to millions of veterans with systemic illnesses, immune diseases, immunity diseases that are being misdiagnosed or dismissed or treated as though they were mild, but they're not. They just couldn't get into the doctor quick enough during an episode because they were in bed. Duh. Systemic inflammatory diseases are some of the most debilitating. It's not something somebody walks into. Oh yeah, hey, this is great. I can get some more disability. Oh yeah, this is great. I'll get some more attention. It's not somebody wants to walk into. In my family, the people that have had it, I shudder even to think the people in my family that have had this, what happens to them. They shrivel up, joints deformed, can't walk anymore. It's a horrible, it's horrible. Some of them get hunched over. It's not something somebody wants to walk into. And maybe if we weren't stuck here, maybe I wouldn't have deteriorated like I have. In the Middle East, the only time I'm sick was for respiratory stuff, allergies plus smoking. But smoking made it worse. And when I'm in Southeast Asia, generally that's also the same thing. Maybe bad street food here and there, but that's pretty rare. But because I'm a big street food junkie. Oh, I love street food anywhere. I love street food. But the problem in the U.S. is it's so darn expensive because we've made it a luxury thing. Most places in the world, street food is of the people. In the U.S., we make it the opposite. It's not of the people. It's expensive. Crazy. But I'm a big street food junkie, big time. Anywhere I go, if there's a street food, region or a street food street, oh, I'm there. And anyway, yeah, thousands of veterans being disenfranchised once again by corporate greed. Why have these very, very high ranges for, diagnosing presence of systemic inflammatory markers? I mean, so what if they're also present in the general population? It's not like people are getting just one test to diagnose this. Generally, you're getting several. And then when one test is sitting on a fence, and then another test says, oh, we don't see anything there, they dismiss the veteran like me. Oh, no, we don't think it's this. Or generally, like they deal with me, is they'll intimate it. They'll, no, that's not the word I'm looking for. They'll kind of implicitly, no, it's not what I'm working for. The word I'm looking, they'll covertly, you know, kind of hint that, nope, no, we don't think this, but they won't say it directly. And then when you question their choice of labs, well, now I know why. I was in the wrong there. It's not just my VA, it's several VAs, several VISNs are using this laboratory. Several. The last article I read, it looks like at least 5 to 6 VISNs. So that's anywhere from 15 to 20 states are using this lab. How many thousands to millions of veterans are being led to believe they don't have a systemic inflammatory disease? It's in their head, or they're getting old. Getting old is not a pathology, and I've said this before. Getting old is not a reason, for passing away. Getting old is not a pathology. Give me a real pathology why somebody passed out. Oh, heart failure. Okay, what caused the heart failure? Um, well, again, give me a reason. Give me a pathology. Oh, this person had rheumatoid arthritis that was advanced and it caused, cardioelectric irregularities because of deterioration with the synaptic flow or something, the synaptic flow of myocardial electric, you know. It attacked the nerves in the pericardium around their heart and the endocardium, and it caused their heart to start to have throw all kinds of different signs, and it caused an irregular heartbeat, and then that failed. That's what it does, these inflammatory diseases. They find something, they target it, and they try to destroy it. People is different. You find some commonalities with joints, yes, but not always the same. Some people, their joint lining thins very slowly, but they get a ton of osteophytes. They get pitting of the bone. It becomes slowly deformed, like with my right knee. I'm only 53, but my right knee, they said it looks like somebody severely aged with severe arthritis. I'm only 53. But, the joint lining in several areas is just deteriorating. That's what it does. It eats it away. And then with rheumatoid, it eats it away, and you start to get pockets. Sometimes it's pockets with fluid. Sometimes it's pockets in the bone. I have all. But still tough. That's the amazing thing. Thank God for that. But anyway, I didn't intend this video to be so long. But my hope is that it will help somebody, a veteran, somebody with bronchitis, somebody with a systemic inflammatory disease who keeps getting gaslit, um, somebody with pneumonia, especially Pope Francis. There must be something about the Vatican because we have lost too many senior cardinals and too many popes because of respiratory issues. And I think it's because the age of the Vatican, it's old, brick and mortar and cement, it's dusty. So that's something to consider, If somebody lives in the Vatican, more air purifiers, maybe more frequent cleaning. I don't know. But I can think back of the papal history that I know. I can think of at least 4 in the past 100 years. No, 5. Oh no, maybe 6. Not even the last 100 years. This would be the last 50. About 6. 4 to 6. That was a weird noise. I don't even know if the Bluetooth mic will pick it up. Huh. Anyway, 4 to 6 popes in the past 50 years that have passed away or become deathly ill because of bronchitis or pneumonia. It's, something worth looking into. Why is that? Brick dust, mortar dust, regular dust. I don't know. Certainly something worth looking into if somebody's so inclined. Hopefully I helped somebody today and I brought up some things to think about to protect yourself, protect your life, protect your church leadership or your synagogue leadership or whatever, especially Pope Francis. Thank you.